Hey guys, the thumbnail here was a little bit weird because I'm not used to holding a blister pack type item for the razor, but that's what we're going to be shaving with today. Also, we'll be continuing to use the boar brush, the Zenith B35, and it's the custom handle that was made for the wet shaving subreddit, and I got one. And it's been terrific. I think maybe we're on 10 uses or somewhere around there for it. A couple of hairdryer treatments between this shave that I'm about to do now and the previous one. We are going to be continuing, since we're in March, to use Stirling. Stirling was a great help in helping our group to acquire this brush, sending it internationally because it involved animal hairs. Was a huge complication, and Rod really stepped up and did us some big favors. And Scots Pine Sheep is the Mutton tallow base, and of course, and it's a piney scent. There is another soap, I believe it was Claw the Woodsman, and it smelled exactly like the Pine Sol cleaner that here in America we have, and so I had to sell it because that's exactly what it was to my nose, and so it just wasn't going to be any good for me as an enjoyable scent. But it's very piney, and so I'm sure somebody else would really enjoy it. Even somebody who maybe that's a scent their mom used when they were little and warm memories, who knows. But this guy, it wasn't good for me. This guy is similar, pine. I mean, how weird is pine going to get? It's pretty much pine. But this one's a little bit fresher than the Pine Sol type scent. It's not artificial at all in terms of the way it smells. And so in terms of the dry puck scent, I'm liking it. It's not super complex, and it's not supposed to be. But what it is it's in that wonderful mutton base that's even better than Stirling's normal beef tallow base. The 7 o'clock here is a plastic razor, the black razor that they sent along. I don't even know if they have a name for it. There was a tuck of blades behind the razor. This is the one actually I've been using for a while, so it didn't come with this, but it's the same model blade. And so if we take it out, it's a plastic razor. I mean, it kind of looks almost like the Razor Rock Baby Smooth with the curvature at the head there. So let's just take a look at it. And as you can see, it's got this flip up top cap because it's plastic after all. Gives you instructions on the back. I was in an international grocery store where I saw this. And I actually saw the green one as well. I don't know if there's a difference at all. I bought both because it's just a few dollars, maybe $4 or something like that, $5. And so I thought, wow, it's actually hard to get a good double-edged razor at a local brick and mortar place. Some Walmarts will sell the Vanderhagen razors, and those do a good job. Some Dollar Tree will sometimes have some really iffy looking ones that I don't know that I want to try. The King C Gillette razor that just came out with a big push from Gillette with its whole suite of products is sometimes available. So at least we have that. But apparently they sell these kind of guys in some of those, I guess on the international market in other parts of the world, these are more popular. So let's give it a shot. It does twist. So this is actually not a pop top. Look, this one, maybe the green one is a pop top, but this one twists. And look at that base plate. It looks like this facet that's going to contact the blade edge. It's going to kind of be coming down close to the blade edge. That's very promising. So let us put the blade in there. Maybe the green one is the flip top style. I haven't used this razor yet, as you could probably guess from how I'm talking about it. This blade has been used a dozen times, or maybe a few more than that. still doing great. And some other razors. And, you know, we've got a good share of razors that have this same style where you've got kind of a longer post with the top cap. Two-piece vintage Gillettes do that. A lot of times, though, they'll have a rail right here. Now, this one, like some of the vintage Gillette News and some of the Techs maybe, have the 4 posts in the corners that are going to keep the blade hopefully aligned properly. And then you kind of have to hold everything together as you're, let me get to make sure it's not going to be cross-threaded. There we go. Kind of have to hold everything in line as you're screwing it in. So we'll definitely want to visually check the alignment of the blade after everything's in. It's, of course, very light. Very, very, very light. Lighter than an aluminum razor, of course. Okay, the blade looks like it's parallel, you know, properly. I am seeing a bow in the blade edge. It is lower in the middle and raises just a little higher on each end, and that's kind of for both the left and the right sides. We'll just see how it shaves. I generally don't like light razors because they don't have as much inertia by definition, and so you kind of have to pull them through your hair. A heavier razor, maybe stainless steel type or brass, and of course anything heavier, and of course titanium if it's a little on the chunky side, has that inertia to just kind of move through your hair almost on its own. So blister pack. So we'll see if this is a good option if you're maybe just visiting a town, or you know, you're in a temporary situation. Or could it be a good razor if you want to try out double edge shaving? Now, of course, you've got razors like the Maggard razor that's 20 bucks. It's a stainless steel handle, but the head is the Zamac, the pot metal. But it'll last you several years if you take good care of it. So it's probably a better buy than this. It's probably going to give you a better shave. But let's just see how this will compare. Loaded up my jigger with 40 milliliters of water. The brush has been soaking actually overnight. I didn't mean for that to happen. I thought I was going to be able to shave last night, but work got too busy. Get some water on my face. I did just do a quick kind of face wash with a standard bar soap, that Men Plus Care bar soap from what, Dove, I think. So we can go ahead and load up. Now this has been put in there with some crags and stuff, and I'm probably going to be better served by, I'm going to press these down with my thumb and just kind of make a flat surface. Because what you don't really want is a small fragment of the soap and it's just a little inconvenient. As you're loading, you don't want chunks to come up out of the soap and lodge themselves in your brush. And then you take it to your bowl and you work it in, or worse yet, you take it to your face. And it takes a while, and sometimes those little nuggets, they're not abrased enough, if that's a word. They're not worked on and massaged enough to get them into your skin, to make them a part of the lather, especially if your water is on the cool side. And even in the bowl, they can be pushed around inside the bowl instead of actually turning into lather, and then they can then jam up in your razor if they end up on your face, that kind of thing. And so if you have to use a sample, that's why I smear them into the bottom of the bowl. Or if I'm scooping my soap, instead of brush loading directly from the tub, I'll take my spoon or whatever I'm scooping with, and I'll scoop out an amount and then press that, like the sample, into the bottom of the bowl, not having any little fragments that are going to come up. The brush tips then are able to work over properly all of the soap. And so that's what we were just kind of preventing there. And here we go. It's all pretty much, there's no fragments that are going to come loose. With the Mutton base, you know, should we stick with kind of the standard 20 seconds? Let's just do 25 just for grins here. Oh, 5 seconds is going to start right there. So then I'll go to the 30 second mark. Really happy with the tips splitting here. I'm going to let it drip into the bowl. Hopefully. I want you guys to see the suds process though, so I'm trying to aim for the bowl and still show it on camera. All right, that was 25 seconds. So not a lot you see on the brush, but this still might be plenty. And we do have a good bit on the side of the soap. So I can put on a little bit of something to get me used to the scent. And also to help out that first pass of lather. But I have a feeling I'm going to have plenty of lather. Even if I dump the whole bowl out with all those suds that dripped down, I bet I've got plenty of concentrate there to get the job done. So the razor's loaded. It's got little ridges on the side of it there, so I think it's going to be easy to hold on to while I'm shaving. So I think practically speaking, it should work pretty well. Clipped out, since the last shave, a few hairs from the knot because they had been put in backwards. The softer tip, the thinner tip was pointed in toward the center of the glue bump, you know, instead of outward toward the person's face. And so that was probably never going to split. And off of that, I had one that was maybe some kind of longer bristle that had no tip on it. It was just kind of it was almost like fishing line, you know. And it's good to get those out of your brush if you want it to get to that maximum softness. Oh yeah, look, plenty of soap. Oh, my hands. The hand that I used to kind of put that lather on my early sudsy on my face, it's so moisturized, it's slipping on the appliances and things like, it's harder to hold the bowl because it's a very nourishing, slick lather, this sheep's tallow. We'll go ahead and start adding some water. And I don't need to be shy. This is a high performance lather. This mutton tallow may actually, this base may actually be the best bang for your buck in wet shaving in terms of cost and performance. You know, low cost, high performance, if those are your priorities, then you really need to try this base. The standard beef tallow base, a tub of their 5.8 ounces of soap with Stirling will last me over a year. 13 months of daily shaves with 4 or more passes of good lather per shave. And I would guess the mutton tallow is probably similar, though I've never done a test on the mutton tallow. How much is it splaying easily? Yeah, about half of the length of the bristles is easy to splay. So that's progress from the first couple of days of use with this brush. Should have taken some pictures of it. Some people take a picture of the brush every day, but since it's not really helpful to take a picture of your brush if it's wet. And so right after shaving, you're not getting as good of a view of the split tips. And so I tend to do mine right before the shave, but the problem is I very quickly will dump it into my soap cup so that I can prep it for the shave as a habit. And so then I end up missing the chance to get a good photo of the dry tips all split up and stuff. So the lather's looking great already. The sheep tallow, Rod said, has kind of been expensive lately, and he hasn't been able to work up his entire inventory of sheep soaps, you know. I think I got an email a few weeks ago that said that he did make a couple of them up. And so there were, as opposed to the last few months, there were some sheep available. One day a few years ago, I realized that it wasn't just the soaps with the name sheep that had the mutton tallow base. Of course, you've got the standard sheep, the electric sheep, which has more of a citronella eucalyptus type vibe. That's the only one I haven't tried because I don't really like those scents. And then this one, the Scots pine sheep. But there's also Glastonbury, Port-au-Prince, and Furin. We Americans would look at it and say Varin. And is there one more? Or is it just those three that don't say sheep? Anyway, they are more strong scents that work with the mutton tallow base. And that's why he wasn't able to use the mutton tallow, because even Rod says he likes the base better. And here, look at this, and this is why. Look at how creamy it is. High performance, the slickness, the feel of on your face there. Your face feels nurtured and taken care of. Do I need to add some more water to this? Nah, let's just go ahead and roll on. See what we get. So a little splash on the water on my face now. And as a test here, see, I've got this on my face and it's had a chance to maybe dry out a little bit. It hasn't really, but there's no itchiness that sometimes comes with putting a concentrate on your face. Just not there, because it's just that sheep tallow. Some people are allergic to the lanolin, right? So of course you'd want to avoid it if you have that allergy. Is that going to be listed in the ingredients here? Yep, lanolin. And this could use a little bit more water here. Just several drops on the brush. I could just feel it needing a little bit more creaminess on my face. And then if you look at the shape of what's coming out the side of my brush, that's also a tip off that it could use a little bit more water, and it's gathering around my goatee here. See that kind of firm shape on that edge that's sticking out right there? Several drops now on the brush. How's the brush feeling right now? Pretty soft. Doesn't feel like it's going to irritate me or anything. That pine is kind of a fresh type scent. I grew up in a house that had a yard that was full of pine trees. So maybe that's why I'm not as big of a pine fan as some of you guys. Because for me it represented a whole yard full of trees that were difficult to climb, that had scraggly bark, that had pine needles instead of leaves. I saw TV shows where kids were playing as a child. I saw these shows and kids were jumping in piles of leaves I couldn't have any of that fun because all I had were those prickly pine needles. They're still pretty good, pretty fun to rake a pile of those together and jump in them. But they definitely weren't nice crunchy leaves. So it looks like maybe I do need to add even more water to my bowl. So we will pour a little bit more in. Give it a little mix right now, and I'll finish mixing it before the next pass. All right. And this is a 3-day shave, so this is a good challenge for this razor. What does the exposure look like? It looks like, in parts, it's a neutral exposure, and maybe on the edges it might actually be positive. So we'll see. Oh yeah, because it's plastic, it's going to be chatty. You're going to hear some audio. Now on this side, see, I can do longer strokes. You can do that if you want. Whatever you're more comfortable with. On the curvy areas, I tend to do the shorter strokes. It helps me to kind of automatically adjust my angle. The second and third pass is going to be what's really going to tell us about this razor in terms of a daily shave where you would just be dealing with 1 day of growth. Let's get a rinse in. So to me, this type of pine scent, and I've done some more mixing, you can look at the texture now. That's that kind of almost melted marshmallow cream kind of texture that I prefer, and that the better soaps, the higher performing soaps, the better quality soaps give me without a problem. Now there, look how quickly that moved. That is some good lather right there. Now, let's see. It looks good. Does it work well? Does it feel good on the face? Does it feel kind of lightly creamy just to kind of give you a little bit of luxury feel? Does it allow for good speed and proper slickness? Let's see. Doesn't look too wet. See, we've still got clouds of creaminess going on right here. All right, razor. Let's see how you do with something more normal. Yeah, you can definitely tell the sound is more what you kind of might expect. Of course, this might be a good DE to take with you when traveling. Seems to be pretty easy to find the angle. Don't know how long it'll last, of course. The threads on that bolt, you know, might be the first thing to kind of wear out, but I bet it would last a good long time. Certainly worth the money. I have a little spot I want to hit again, and so I'm going to grab some lather and put it right there. And yeah, this lather is just terrific. Third pass, and yes, by the time I finished adding enough water to make it right, I've still got another 3 or 4 passes of lather in here. And when you count the fact that that first pass was a little too concentrated, I would probably have an extra 5 or 6 passes in addition to the 3 that I put on my face. So it just doesn't take a lot of soap when it's a good soap. And you hydrate it like I do. I mean, some of you guys might like it a little drier. That's your prerogative. So now here's the test. How are we going to feel? How easy it is going to be to find the angle? On this third pass here, will I stir up any irritation because maybe there's some blade exposure that's not quite right? I mean, I kind of feel like this is not some kind of new experimental product. I'll bet there's just thousands and maybe even millions of guys, maybe not in America, you know, maybe India and China is kind of where the main market is for this kind of razor, you know, something somewhere over that end of the world. Comfortable shave. It seems like it's pretty close. We'll check out the closeness during the break and get a good rinse now. My favorite lathering soaps give me this little bonus feature about the shave. Not only are they fast, slick, with a slickness that lets me move around easily and quickly, and it lets me get close with the razor blade while still protecting me. Not only does it do that, but it gives me this extra little bonus of creaminess and luxury, like like during the rinses, like I've just put on some kind of high-dollar lotion in some kind of spa. I've never done that before, but that's just what it makes me feel like it might be. And it just, and this lather is right on point, even hydrated like it is. It's just amazing. Like I've shown you, the feel is just so decadent with this. And so during the rinses, I just enjoy that so much. And the cool water here that I'm using is a wonderful soothing respite during the course of the shave. So, you know, I don't have any stubble jammed in there, anything like that. It worked. And it worked pretty well. There is a spot on my neck, my trouble area, that I might hit again if I wanted a better shave, but I don't mind today. And because maybe you have a higher exposure on the outside edges of each side, that could be the trouble part of the razor, where if what you're trying to shave is in the middle, then it may not quite get it, or you may just have to do extra stretching or extra movements, or, you know, do your skin like this or something weird to try to get to that area. And then if you hit it wrong, then the ones on the outside may then tend to give you a little bit of razor burn. I mean, there may be complications like that, but in terms of this kind of shave that I got just now, this worked really well. And, you know, sure, it is, it's light. And so that's really the other, and the blade, you know, I don't like them quite as chatty. But in terms of something that's you could take on a flight with you, of course you can't take the blades with you on the flight. You would need to either mail them ahead, or you would just need to buy some blades wherever you arrived. You could, I wonder if you could do a purchase like with, you know, Maggard Razors or AliExpress, or, you know, something like that, to actually order some blades and have them shipped to your hotel. You know, something like that. If you have a certain kind of blade that you like, instead of maybe whatever they might have at a local pharmacy or store. But I've heard a lot of guys travel, and most of the time they say it's just not an issue. There's always some blades available somewhere for them to use. All right, but also if you get, I have heard some people travel with a normal safety razor, like a vintage tech or something that was, you know, that they do use for travel, but since it was metal, it was confiscated. Even though if it doesn't have a blade, they shouldn't confiscate it. But then of course this guy, since he's so cheap, you know, so cheap, you know, that shouldn't, even if they confiscate it, no big loss, right? So that's a legitimate razor. Is it going to give you a good impression about what a, what's squeaking? Oh, you know, I probably dropped some lather or some water on the floor there on the floor, and my shoe is squeaking. Compare it to maybe a vintage tech, an inexpensive razor, or a Biley or the Maggard V3, compared to those guys, they just have a better grip on the blade, and that has a better feeling. Then, of course, you know, with the stainless steel razors like this Game Changer, you've got that inertia that I was talking about. And with the Maggard V3 that I was telling, the Biley razors, they have that inertia too, because they have some weight with that pot metal type construction and the stainless steel handles that the Maggard razors have. And so that's a benefit. This could definitely help you with your technique, making sure that you keep, even with this one, keep a light touch. Keep a very light touch. You know, I don't guess it's a good introductory razor. I think I would only recommend somebody do this one if they had just extreme budget concerns, because this is going to last a while. The other ones, my guess would be, will last longer and give better shaves during that duration. But if you're really hard up for cash, maybe this is what you can afford, and it gives you a decent shave. And it's going to definitely be cheaper than those cartridge razors, right? So that's a valid option. Tons of lather. Boy, I didn't need to load for 25 seconds, did I? I just kind of played it safe. Now, the soap smell is not really around me too much anymore. And here, it's just kind of a light, fresh, piney scent. It's not really giving me an outdoorsy vibe. It's not very strong in this form right now. And so I would put it in as better than unscented, because at least you've got something. You know, I almost would want to follow it up. I think this would be a great kind of universal soap if you wanted to then have some outdoorsy colognes to use afterwards, or splashes or something like that. I think that would work really well. Now, I've got Chasing Sunsets, which is a splash, kind of the from Storybook. They had to close down. He went on to different things. It's mainly like a witch hazel. It's non-alcoholic, and so witch hazel, aloe, water, fragrance, glycerin, and things like that. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a shake. I've been dying to use this for a while, and I just kind of didn't, I kept forgetting about it. So you can see it kind of is more of a milk. And so it's products like it. Holy Cow also has a toner like this, and Stirling, I need to order some of that because I never have, has a witch hazel toner that they sell, and then you can buy it in whatever Stirling scent you want, I think. I need to check that out. So for you guys who might have skin that reacts to an alcohol splash, or maybe super dry skin to where alcohol is going to work you over and cause you trouble, then maybe some type of toner like this one. Yeah, I think that's working well with the pine. It's kind of it's got some outdoor elements in it. So, whew, boy, this was a great shave with the lather here. It was just top notch with the Scots Pine Sheep. Oh yeah, it's got the lamb icon there. Seal that up for another day. And the Wilkinson, no, I keep thinking Wilkinson, because Wilkinson sword has a plastic razor as well, but this is a Gillette. And the name on the thing there is really the name of the blade, not really the name of the razor. The razor doesn't really have a name. I mean, well, maybe they gave it the same exact name as the blade, but I've been using this for a lot longer. This model blade, I've been using it for a lot longer than I knew about that razor. And that, my friends, is it. 25-second load, 29 milliliters of water used during the shave to make up the lather. And comfort's really increasing with the brush here. A lot of the tip, some of the tips, more of the tips have split. I think there's a lot in the middle that haven't split yet, but visually, once it's dry, you can see a lot of splits. I just think it's just the fact that there are just tons of hairs that have to split that makes you actually realize that there are more that need to split other than what you can see. But see, it just splays pretty easily, maybe 50–60% of the way. And my skin wasn't roughed up by the brush. You know, it wasn't too pokey or anything like that. So I'm really happy with the hairdryer treatments as we're moving along with this brush. Now, after the shave, I'm going to now switch to doing things to take care of the brush as it's breaking in to try to encourage a quick break-in. I'm experimenting with hairdryer. I am using low speed and medium heat, and sometimes I might switch up to high speed, but then I'll use the cool setting, which is a very low heat, mainly just air movement. So I'm trying to be gentle on the tips, because a lot of the guys who bought this brush were all using it together, or just using it, and I'm really curious to compare mine with theirs. And also I wonder, and SpongeBob on our online community mentioned that he wonders, and I don't know how much research he did into this opinion, but he thinks that maybe those old school coconut oil soaps are going to be better to use when you're breaking in a boar brush because they're more drying, right? They're more drying to your skin, so it makes sense they'd be more drying to a brush. If you're using a soap that is very nourishing to the skin, like this Mutton Tallow, then that may cause less of a drying action on the brush. And since we don't want that, not as bad as a conditioner would be, definitely don't want to use conditioner on animal hair brushes, in my opinion. But it's not going to be that bad, but maybe switching over, and that's what I've done. I've washed it today. I actually used a little bit of Blue Dawn, a degreaser there, to just like a dime dollop in my lather bowl, and just worked it up. And there we go. Has a nice fresh smell. Got rid of any of the scent that it might have had. And mine, by the way, never really had any boar funk. Some people have to deal with a little bit of a funky smell with animal hair brushes when they use them for the first few times, but almost always it disappears after just a few uses. Okay, I've rarely had a problem with that. Sometimes it varies per brush, per model, per brand, you know, that sort of thing. I just haven't had any issues. And even if I did, I had one, it was a Badger, but it, like I said, it went away after a few normal uses with soap, so no big deal. I didn't do any kind of cleansing treatment or anything like that with it. So here we are, I've towel stropped it, and I have used the Dawn to maybe be a little bit better to clean away some of the wonderful nutrients that the Stirling sheep might have left on it, nourishing. Now later on in the brush's life, that might be good. Once it's done splitting as much as I want it to, once it's splaying as much as I want it to, then maybe those kind of soaps are going to be just fine. Or if I don't mind for it to start breaking in more slowly, then I'm not going to do this thing where I use a different soap at the end of the shave. But now I'm going to do the hairdryer treatment, and I'll be right back to show you what it looks like after that. So this is what it looks like after just kind of a towel stropping. Be right back. And there we go. Here's the difference after a hairdryer treatment. Looks fuller because just by nature of the fact that the bristles aren't clumping together like they were when they were wet. And it feels nice. It's a gentle hair dryer treatment that I'm going with. And I don't want to get the tips to where they're crispy. I want to stop before that point. Don't want them to get dried out. And there we go. It's working out really well so far. It's a big brush. If you use it to really dig into soap, it will eat through a lot of soap. But for me, it does no good to use up a lot of soap, even though I have a huge collection. It does no good for me. I don't want to do that, because then I have this dry, pasty stuff on my face. And you saw, even with the small load that I did, I still had to keep adding water to get the feeling that I wanted. I don't want it more dry just to use up soap. So with this guy, you just load less, and then you don't have to worry about him chewing through your soaps. All right, that's a good shave. I learned, about this razor. Let's disassemble here. I'm going to loosen it up, and then just kind of rinse out all the gunk. There really wasn't too much in there anyway, and I'll just let it dry like that. It's almost like a chlorine, ozone, watery kind of nature to this Chasing Sunsets. And of course, that's part of his plan when he put that together. And it definitely worked with the woodsy. I think there's supposed to be like some firewood notes, in it as well. And that's going to be complementary to the Scots pine sheep, the pine notes of that. So I think the Scots pine sheep could be a soap that, if you didn't want to go totally unscented, but you wanted a scent that was very mild, but you wanted maybe something slightly woodsy, Texas on Fire would be super woodsy, roasty, burny woodsy. Gatlinburg is akin to this one. It's stronger. I know that much. Coniferous is another one that Stirling did. I don't know if Coniferous is still around, but both of those have foresty, woodsy notes to them. Autumn Glory has woods as well as some other notes in it. So those are some more related ones, in case you're all about this genre that we're dealing with here. But to me, this guy is a flexible soap that'll work with so many different kinds of aftershave, post-shave products, colognes, that sort of thing, as well as splashes. And it's also good for folks who may not want a super big dose of scent during their shave. Some people don't. And of course, the performance is out of this world. Indeed, the performance here, I don't really think that anybody else can do better. I mean, it's top tier to me. You can pump a lot of water into it, and it still keeps that creaminess and the ultra slickness to it. And that's what the best soaps do. The best bases from Barrister and Man and Declaration Grooming, Mammoth, and Noble Otter, and so many of the good soaps. Now they're going to have different scents to choose from in their top tierness that Stirling doesn't with the sheep base. But in terms of pure performance, this is the value king, because he equals their performance, maybe even with some of them bests their performance by a little bit, and so for a lot less money in many cases. So very good shave today. What did I say? 29 milliliters? Yeah, 29 milliliters used. I'll remember that to put it into my system. You guys take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and that's been a after the weekend shave today. Keeping using the big Zenith, continuing to use Stirling products. And I had been sitting around with this for several months, and I couldn't find it at one point. I wanted to experiment and try it. I didn't think it was going to replace any of my stainless steel razors or anything, but as a low-cost alternative, emergency situation, low-budget situation, it seems like this will get the job done. It will. All right, guys, take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.